Hi, I'm Sofia Bernardi, mindset and business coach supporting ambitious new and rising coaches to master their mindset, create an aligned and profitable strategy, and grow a six-figure business and beyond using the Rising Coach method. I built a $500,000 business by the age of 24, and in this podcast, I will teach you the psychology, strategy, and energetics to do the same. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome to another episode. I'm so excited you are here. Guys, I've had the most incredible week. This last week, I've spent so much time with Geordie. We went to the Sunshine Coast for a couple of days to do some creative work in a beautiful Airbnb. We've been to Byron Bay and spent the day there, which was beautiful. I've had, such a fun week with him, working alongside him at cafes and at home and going out to eat a lot and, just having so much fun that I honestly feel like I haven't done very much work at all this week, but it's been kind of nice and I love that. I've created a lifestyle that actually allows for that kind of freedom. And so now I'm just catching up on a few things on a beautiful Sunday, sunny afternoon by recording some podcast episodes because I actually have a client of mine who's been in my mastermind for several years now coming to stay with me for the next 5 days or so. And I know that I'm going to be really present with her while she's here and doing some work, of course. And so I thought, there is no better time than to create some episodes than right now because I'm also going to be traveling a lot over this next month. I'm going to go to Adelaide to see my friends and family just because I can, and many exciting things coming. So batching some podcast episodes for you guys today. I'm also in the process of really upgrading and improving my podcast. So you may have noticed that I've changed the branding of the cover photo art of my podcast. I'm also planning on making it extremely more valuable, just giving even more value. I won't share right now what that looks like, but very, very soon you'll know that I'm going to be delivering more and better content for you. And I'm also going to be promoting a lot less on the podcast. So I've decided that I want it to really be a place that you can come and just really get so much information and value, like quality, of course, but also quantity. And so I don't want to utilize this platform to be selling all of the time. Of course, if I have a really exciting offer, which to be honest, I often do, I do want to share that because I think it would be a disservice to not do so. But I just want to have like less ads and less noise on the podcast, so it's more value more often than not, especially because I'm always changing my offers, like whether that's my free resources and events, like I'm running events all of the time, that as soon as a new podcast listener comes and they want to binge watch, some episodes, like not all of the things I mentioned would be relevant anymore, and I kind of just don't want that. But I want to find this nice balance of still letting you know when I have exciting things, because obviously I don't want you to miss out. So I think the best thing to do would be to come follow me on Instagram. I'm at Sofia Rose Bernardi if you're listening to this, because then you will be up to date with everything that's going on right now, like special offers, free resources and events, but also check the show notes always, because that's where you can find all of my links and free trainings and upcoming things and special discounts and whatever else in the show notes. So make sure you check that out, but definitely follow me on Instagram because that's where you'll get all the latest up-to-date stuff. And of course I will have, ad breaks every now and again and outros and things like that with, things, but I'm just going to try and do it a little bit less so it's more engagement based, as I just really want it to be clean as possible with like everything's up to date and can just provide the most valuable, because I know that a lot of you listen to the podcast when you're traveling or walking or something like that, and the last thing you want is like a whole bunch of ads. Not that I've ever done that to a large extent anyways, but it's annoying. I get that. So yeah, that's a mini update that you weren't asking for, but that's kind of what's going on my mind right now. So I'm really excited by what's to come, and you'll know more soon. So stay tuned, but definitely follow me on Instagram. Anyways, today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 things that you want to nail if you want to scale your business. Now, I really took the time to think about what 3 key things I could share with you that would be the most impactful. And it took some time because obviously there's more than 3 things to do in business and life in order to scale. Like there's so much that goes to it. So these are quite broad things, but genuinely made a big impact that I think often go unnoticed. That's more important than you think. So Yeah. And when I say scale your business, I don't mean doing so in a way that burns you out or comes at a cost of any other area of your life. Of course, if you're in the earlier stages of business, there are going to be trade-offs to get to that place where you can scale. For example, sometimes you're juggling a full-time job and a business at the same time, and there's going to be trade-offs in order to leave the full-time job and go full-time in the business. But then once you're past that and you start having systems in place, you are in a position to scale, and that's what I'm talking about. So this is for you whether you're at that stage or not, but these things are going to be really, really important to be able to do so regardless. So let's dive on in, guys. Number one is consistency. And before you roll your eyes and are like, oh my God, I never want to hear that word again, hear me out. Because one, it's often quite misunderstood. And two, it's often underrated. Like, you don't recognize how important that is and how much it's going to change the game for you. So I don't know a single business owner who has scaled their business without consistency. Now, consistency in showing up in their business no matter what is what I'm talking about. Like, there are going to be tough times in your life and you're going to want to not show up in business. And of course, there's a time and place with that where of course you're going to put the business to the side. Like, I totally respect and understand that. And businesses don't last long if we are constantly stopping and starting dependent on our emotions and how we feel. And so having systems in place so that you can show up consistently, no matter what is happening in your life, knowing that things will happen, is what's going to best serve you. So I've been in business for 4 years, which honestly isn't that long, but I've scaled very quickly in that time. And still a lot happens in 4 years. For context, I started right as the pandemic started. So I think whilst I haven't been in business forever, I've certainly come at a time where there's been the most uncertainty and discomfort and change that society has probably seen in a very, very long time. And so I feel like I can speak into this in the sense that consistency hasn't always been the easiest thing when a global pandemic is going on and everyone is questioning everything and things are just changing all of the time. Obviously, we are thankfully on the other side of that now. However, for most of my business, it has been a big thing in the way that I've never let actually be in the way due to being consistent, right? And there's loads of things that go under that, but I just wanted to share that for context that, I've also been in business whilst, my partner lost a family member, and whilst there's been health challenges, and whilst, all sorts of other personal factors have come in play that I won't, bore you with right now. But my point is that it's not like business has, or life has just been sunshine and rainbows the last 4 years. There's definitely been loads of challenges, and you would never know that from looking at the consistency of how I've shown up in my business. And that is why no matter what happens externally, my business is able to thrive and grow. And I think that that's really important to mention, that all of the businesses, whether it's a coaching business or not, like just companies in general that have scaled and sustained that growth, they are showing up even in tough times. They just adapt and they keep going. And it's that consistency that allows them to keep flourishing. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. So every single business owner that I know that I genuinely look up to and that is, growing and scaling their business, they are consistent in their mindset, in their messaging and their marketing and their brand and their strategy and everything in between, okay? It's the bare minimum to grow, let alone to scale. And this doesn't mean constantly. This is the misconception, is people mix the word consistently with constantly. That's not what consistency is. And it certainly doesn't mean not listening to yourself either. Consistency means acting or done in the same way over a period of time. So let's just say, hypothetically, you've decided that you're going to post 3 times a week in your business. That's not constantly, is it? Because there are some people that post 3 times every single day, 7 days a week, right? That's constantly. Consistency is deciding an amount and sticking to that more often than not. So let's just say it's 3 times a week. Then you are more often than not posting 3 times a week, right? Whereas constantly is like literally constantly doing it, like 3 times a day as an example. That's constantly. That can also be consistently though. Like, you can consistently post 3 times a day, 7 days a week if you want to, right? So it's just that repetitiveness and staying on track. And it sounds so simple, but it actually amazes me how many people do not do that and would tell themselves the story that they're not capable of doing that, right? Like, not many people on planet Earth consistently do anything, consistently, work on their mindset, consistently invest in themselves, consistently exercise, consistently eat healthy. Like, most people are very up and down. They either never start or they start and stop and start and stop, right? And they have to they have to hype themselves up and motivate themselves because they're relying on motivation. Whereas when you are relying on drive, you don't need motivation. You're just going to do it because A, the benefits of doing so, and B, it becomes natural to you when you have way more things driving you than just a feeling of feeling like it. When human beings are so lazy by nature and don't want to do anything, right? We want to reserve our energy in case we need it for an emergency one day. That's how the brain is wired. So I think just recognizing that is so, so important. Okay. Now, as a quick example or metaphor, I suppose, for lack of a better word, a cafe would go out of business pretty quickly if they didn't follow their own opening hours. So if they sometimes open on Mondays, but sometimes not, do you know how frustrating that is when a place says it's open and then you go there and it's not open? Who's experienced that? I've experienced that, and it's so frustrating because that's they said one thing and their behavior is another. And of course, there's always the exception of why that happens, right? But you don't see it very often, right? Because then they wouldn't be in business, hence the power of consistency. But that's just an example of any other place, a physical store in your local area, whatever, they are open between 9 to 5 typically, or they have their set days. Maybe it's Tuesday to Friday. Doesn't really matter, but when they're open and when they're closed, and they thrive that way because you can rely on them. But then coaches or online service-based online businesses, they seem to think that the rules don't apply for them as well. They can just sometimes be available and sometimes not, sometimes show up and sometimes not. And then they expect the results that a normal business that does have a consistency in terms of their show up rate has, right? And so I hope that example recognizes that because as a service-based business or coaching business, we are the business, we get so emotionally warped in it, but really we need to be able to separate the two. You are not your business, you are the CEO of your business, and so there needs to be that masculine structure to go with the freedom and flow. So if you merge the two too much, then you're gonna make decisions based on how you feel rather than being a business owner. And so that's fine if you want to make decisions based purely on how you feel in a given day, but then don't be surprised if your business doesn't grow because you're not behaving accordingly. Does that make sense? When I first started, I certainly wasn't consistent because my mindset wasn't consistent, so neither was my behavior. And then I'd sit there and wonder why I wasn't getting consistent results like I wanted to. You need to be a match for the consistency. If you want consistent results, then you have to be consistent with that, right? You have to energetically align, okay? So hopefully that gives you an example of the power of consistency and how that has supported me to scale, because I've just been doing this long term, without stopping and starting all of the time, which has been really, really important. And I see this at lots of different scales in the coaching industry as well. It's the same with changing your niche all the time. If you are so up and down like that, changing your niche all of the time, then you have this little period where you're not starting again, of course, because you are not going to forget all of the things that you've learned up until this point. But there is a little reset point when you change something drastic, like an offer that you've been promoting for ages, you change it, or your niche or your brand or what platform you're on or your strategy. There's always going to be this little dip when you do that. And people don't realize that, and that's why it's so important, even if it's not working, to keep going and make tweaks rather than drastic changes. And this is coming from someone who loves to change their mind. I've been very consistent and very subtle and gentle in the little adjustments and changes that I've made, more often than not, unless I've left something, of course, to this moment where I just cannot deal with it anymore or whatever. Of course, different story, but more often than not, I'm very subtle with the changes because I think that's so important. Okay, so that's one thing that has really, really supported me. Number two. I wanted to jump in here quickly to give you a personal invitation to an upcoming free masterclass of mine that is going to blow your mind. Introducing Unlock the Mindset That Moves You to Multiple Six Figures. In this exclusive free masterclass, I'll share 3 key secrets. One that completely changed how I think about my business and created a huge up level. One that moved me from feeling stuck to creating multiple six figures quickly, and one that made business fun, sustainable, and easy. You can sign up now for free with the link in the show notes to get a confirmation email with all of the details you need. There will be a replay available for a very short time, and it's happening on the 25th of October. So head to the link in the show notes, sign up now, and I cannot wait to see you there. Number 2 is mastering one strategy. It's pretty difficult to scale when you're constantly changing what you're doing all of the time and not investing the time, resources, and energy in the mastery of it. Okay, so when I first started my business, I had this limiting belief that I was missing something. There was something that I didn't know, and if I could just find out that missing secret, then my business was going to explode and everything was going to be amazing. That doesn't happen, guys. And so I invested a lot of money investing in so many different courses, investing in so many different coaches, thinking that they had this key thing, and if I could just learn that key thing, then everything would change. And all that meant is every single time I invested in someone new, there was this reset period, right? Because I had to learn things the way that they explain it. So it's like everyone was teaching how to create a niche because it's so important, but everyone has their own spin on how they did it. So every time I invested in someone new, I had to explain everything again. I had to go through their process, and it just constantly starting again. And now there's nothing wrong with changing coaches, especially in the beginning when you're just trying to find out who is your coach, who is your, go-to person or the process that you want to commit to, right? Like I understand that. I just think I did it at a very extreme level because I wasn't trusting myself and the coach and the process, right? And so I kept coach hopping, and it meant kept resetting all of the time. And this also meant that I was changing strategies a lot. Like I tried events, I tried ads, I tried, organic marketing, I tried Instagram, I tried TikTok, I tried Facebook, I tried Facebook groups, I tried going live all of the time, I tried carousels, I tried reels, I tried all of the things, and I didn't really even dabble in them. I really went all in on them, but just not super long term, because either something wasn't sustainable or it didn't align or whatever. I even tried an appointment setter and DM processes and sales calls processes and all of the things. I've really done it all. And I, to this day, love this because it means that I can support my clients with any strategy. I don't favor some over the others for other people, right? Knowing that everyone has different values, goals, visions, missions, and all of the things. But when I finally decided to trust myself, I stuck to one coach who I really, really aligned with, who I've now re-signed 4+ times with and can't even keep up. And I just keep working with her because I'm no longer looking externally for other things. I trust that I have everything I need. It's just the consistency and the mastery that's going to get me there. I just stay where I am, and that's what's really allowed me to grow. But for me, after having tried everything, and when I trusted myself and stayed in the one spot, the thing that aligned with me the most as a marketing strategy to commit to and master and go all in on was running online events. And for me, it's simple. It was really just because it's sustainable when you have a process that you just use on repeat that I've now created through so much trial and error. It's simple. Now, simple doesn't mean easy, right? It's not always going to be easy, especially when you start something, but it is simple once you understand it. And then it's very scalable in terms of there's no cap with how many people I can help at once, So for that reason, I choose events because it's a 3-in-1 process. It attracts people, it nurtures them, it converts them. I just love it. And of course, there's little things I do outside of that, like the podcast that brings me clients and all sorts of other little things. But the thing that I'm very, very consistent with and I use at a very scalable level is running online events. They're so impactful and fun, and I just go to bed at night feeling like I've really made a difference. And that's what I do. But it's not even events that I'm talking about right now that's a game changer. It's the fact that I've gone all in on it and stuck to the one strategy. I'm not dabbling in other things. I'm just mastering one, and that's what makes all of the difference in the world. Okay, so that's really point number 2 that I wanted to share is like pick a strategy, a marketing strategy, and stick to it and master it. Like don't dabble. Like every month I used to be like, what should I do this month? Because I didn't have anything in place. Whereas now I don't even question it. I just know what I'm doing and the team knows what they're doing and everything just flows and it gives me so much freedom and spaciousness. So I love it. And number 3 is actually your capacity to hold more. Okay, hold more of the hard times, hold more of the good without sabotaging it, holding more responsibility, holding more boundaries, holding more discipline. If you want more clients and more money and more success, you also have to be willing to hold more of the opposite, because with more clients comes more challenges. With more money comes more responsibility, right? And knowledge and skill set. It's just more amplified. You can't just have more of some and not more of the other. It goes hand in hand. When I first started my business, the point where I was the least educated, had the least amount of experience, the least amount of confidence, my problems were very much mindset oriented in how I felt, but I didn't have client problems. I didn't have, money problems. I didn't have refund problems, because I just didn't I didn't have the opposite of meeting lots of clients and contracts and all the things. I didn't have any of that. And so I didn't even have those quality problems. Now, as a business that, has over 100 clients, at one time across the programs, of course there's going to be little ups and downs of tough conversations or refund things, which thankfully happens very little, but it still happens. And I have to be willing to hold that, to be able to hold more of the opposite. Hopefully that makes sense. So that was a big lesson that supported me to scale. So every time I come across a challenge, it's uncomfortable, but to be honest, the very first thought or conversation I have with myself is what do I need to learn from this in order to move through it? Knowing that if I can't handle this, then I can't handle more, and I want to be able to handle more. So I'm going to handle this, right? And it's such a positive mindset for me. It really, really empowers me. And that's why I wanted to share this, because I think there are times where you're having uncomfortable conversations or making hard decisions or, placed in severe discomfort, that of course, there could be thoughts that come up around this is too hard. Why do people do this? How is this worth it? Should I really do this? All of these things. And I haven't really spent too much time on those thoughts, but they certainly fly by through your mind in really tough moments. And you really just need to take a deep breath and have a reality check around it. And this is the mindset that helps me move through it. Is this is going to pass, just like everything in life, the good and the bad, it passes. So make the most of it. And how can I learn from this so I can actually hold more? Because if you can't hold it, not only are you just going to keep getting that same lesson repeated to you in various different ways in life, but also you're not going to up level and move forwards. And I don't know about you, but I want to do that. So I'm willing to go through the tough times to be able to hold more of the opposite. So ironically, the more money I've made, the more of the other stuff I hold as well. And I'm so okay with that. It doesn't necessarily get easier, you just get better, which I suppose makes it easier. But my point is that the goal isn't to remove problems. That doesn't happen in any area of your life. Problems are going to arise. Nature and the world has proven that across the test of time. So don't seek to remove problems, just upgrade the level of problems and your mindset to be able to handle them. So they're the 3 things. In summary, 3 things you want to nail if you want to scale your business is consistency in all of the ways, mastering one strategy, the key word there being mastering, and then your capacity to hold more, really deepening your capacity to hold more. And this is why I don't just teach strategy to my clients. I teach mindset and I teach energetics as well, because all 3 play such a huge role. Strategy, mindset, and energy, they're just the 3 key things that you need to create aligned, scalable results in your business. And, part of the components within those 3 pillars is consistency, is capacity to hold more, and mastering one strategy, and so forth. So hope that's been helpful for you. I would love to hear from you on Instagram with your biggest takeaway from today. Please send me a message at Sofia Rose Bernardi. It's always so interesting to hear who actually listens to the podcast. I can see the numbers, which is amazing, but I cannot see who. And I would love to connect with you, because I'm sitting here talking to myself, connecting with myself, but I want to connect with you specifically. So please come message me on Instagram. I would love to hear your favorite takeaway. And if there's any particular things you would like me to talk about on the podcast next, I'm all here for it. But we've got some amazing episodes coming up next that I'm really excited for. And yeah, that's everything I wanted to share today. I love you all so much. Thank you again for being here, and I'll chat to you next week. Although I can't see each one of you, I know you're there because of the downloads we see each week, and I appreciate your presence immensely. If something in this episode resonated with you, I'd be thrilled to hear about it. Connect with me on Instagram at Sofia Rose Bernardi. Share your key takeaways or simply say hello. Your thoughts mean the world to me. Remember, it's your feedback that keeps this show going. Until next time, take care.